Hello everyone, it's Dave here from SaveDex, and I finally got round to seeing the Sonic the Hedgehog movie last night, and I thought I'd just do a video just summing up what I thought of it. So this isn't a proper review, it's just what I thought of it, which I suppose that is a review. But moving on, I'm not going to go too far into spoilers until the end of this video. I will be giving a warning when spoilers are going to happen, because it is relevant to talk about the ending, but obviously I don't want to ruin it for anyone. So you will be warned again, and I am going to do another video talking about a potential sequel, because the movie does set itself up for one. I'm not going to say how just yet, but I have a good idea of what I would like in a sequel, so I will be talking about that in another video, so make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss that. I won't be showing any footage of the film in this video, so just enjoy watching me play through the original Sonic the Hedgehog, which I did to get into the mood of the new film. So, what can I say about this film then? It was good. I enjoyed it, it was fun, I quite liked it, and really I'm a big Sonic fan. Growing up I always loved the Sonic games on the Mega Drive, even though I never owned them, and you know, I was really into the comics, the cartoon shows, and there was a lot of sort of backstories that they created for him, and this film goes in a different direction to those. And really I better talk about the setting of this film first, because that is probably the big problem I have with the film overall, but it's something Hollywood likes to do. It's set on Earth. It's like Sonic comes to Earth. He's there as a baby at first in what looks like Green Hill Zone, and I mean the advertising like to show off baby Sonic, they like to promote that, even though he's not in it that much. And he has to come to Earth to hide because he's got powers that people want to get him for. So he has these rings that can also warp him to other places, but I'll talk about them a bit more later. And he grows up in a place called Green Hills, like it's like a town in America, and he basically stalks James Marsden for 10 years because he just gets to know everyone in this community without actually meeting them because he stays hidden. And although he can run really fast, that's like his big thing, he likes to play about with like James Marsden's speed camera, because James Marsden's like doing like speed trap as a traffic cop, and he likes to look on the speedometer. You see him in the background looking at how fast he went and cheering. That was pretty cool. And overall, he goes too fast running at one point when playing baseball with himself and causes a power outage. The government then call him Dr. Robotnik, but I will talk more about Dr. Robotnik later because he deserves a lot of talking about. And Dr. Robotnik then discovers like traces of Sonic and knows he's hunting some sort of alien. And Sonic then takes refuge in James Marsden's garage because he's there to try and set up a warp ring to get to a different world. And James Marsden catches him, tranquilizes him. That's in the trailer. And then Jim Carrey turns up and James Marsden realizes that, oh no, I need to help Sonic actually. And they basically go to San Francisco, because basically Sonic dropped his rings through the portal and they landed on the tall building in San Francisco, and so he needs to get them back. And basically the whole middle act of the film is them in a car travelling to San Francisco while Robotnik is chasing them. That's the plot. Hope you enjoyed listening to that, and really it's nothing special. I think Sonic does deserve a better story than that. But going into it, I knew it would be something like that. Not exactly that, but like I knew it would be him set on Earth, interacting with humans and not on his own planet. And it's what we got. It's not the film I would have liked, but it's what they made. And I saw that from the trailers. That's what they've done. So instead of worrying about what the film isn't, I'm just going to accept it for what it is, and for what it is, it's good. It did a really good job. So Sonic, let's talk about Sonic now. The design of him, they changed it, that's very well known, because his old design just didn't look like Sonic, and this new design looks very good, and he does look like he's not really there. He looks a bit too cartoony, but I would rather have that I mean, it is a video game character. We know it's a cartoon. I don't mind that, but overall, he looks good. He looks like Sonic. The character, he's voiced by Ben Schwartz, who at the time I didn't realise is from Parks and Rec. He plays John Ralphio. And I don't like John Ralphio in Parks and Rec. He's annoying, which isn't the actor's fault. It's just how he's been told to do that character, and the character's meant to be annoying. And in this film, he plays Sonic. He does a very good voice for Sonic. It sounds like what Sonic should sound like. And I enjoyed him. But he's not like the Sonic I know from the games or from the comics, where Sonic is cool. He's got attitude. They're words that you used to describe Sonic back in the 90s. Whereas in here, he's like an overexcited child. It's like James Marsden will say to him, "You stay in this car, don't you dare move, just wait for me." You know it's not going to happen. You know Sonic's going to notice something, go, "Oh, that looks cool," runs off to do it, and it's basically, it works because it is a younger Sonic than what the games have. He's been on his own for 10 years or so, and he's just learning about interacting with people, I suppose, and the whole film's about him building up friendships, but unfortunately it's about building up friendships with this human. Whereas I'd rather see him build up friendships with Tails and Knuckles and Amy and the Chaotix crew and all that lot. Where were they? So, yeah, it's a shame it had to be like that. But overall, Sonic's character was really good. He was funny and he was likeable. And again, he has those rings, which I liked how they integrated the rings into, like, he uses them as portals, as I said. Kind of like how in the Sonic games you jump through that big ring to get to the special zone. And it's cool because there's a few moments where he'll have the rings and he'll get hit by something and he'll drop them. That was a nice little way to get him dropping rings from the Sonic games into this film. So let's talk about James Marsden. I'm calling him James Marsden because in these sorts of films, your main focus is on the characters you already know, not these ones that are just shoehorned in. His name was Tom or Tim, I can't remember. Sonic calls him the Donut Lord. And his dentist calls him something that isn't his name because that's a story we needed to hear. And he did the part well. Basically, I found his character was a bit too accepting of Sonic because, like, he shoots him with a tranquilizer, as you see in the trailer, and then puts him in a dog cage, and then suddenly, when Robotnik comes over, that's in the trailer as well, Sonic's like, "You got to help me" and stuff, and James Marsden just helps him without any further explanation, and it's like, I don't really get why James Marsden was so, like, willing to help him that quickly, whereas if someone from the government turns up at my door in that situation, I'd just say, "Yes, help me, there's this weird blue thing in my kitchen, go get it." I'm obviously not as nice as James Marsden. But he did a good job, and the woman that played his wife, she was good as well. I think they were the only two prominent human characters in it, but there were others that I'll mention briefly later. So, I say they were the only two human characters. They were the only two sort of original human characters, I'd say, that were prominent. The other one being Dr. Robotnik. Now, what can we say about Dr. Robotnik? He's played by Jim Carrey. That's all you need to know. Go see the film. He steals the show. Like, if you think of two things in the 90s that were, like, at their peak of popularity, and that would be Sonic the Hedgehog and Jim Carrey, and we have got them both together now, and he doesn't play Robotnik, he just plays Jim Carrey as you'd expect him to, as you'd want him to. I don't see him as Robotnik. I've heard other people say that they were sceptical at first, but after seeing him, they can't imagine anyone else play the role. I'm like, I can see other people play the role of Robotnik. I don't see him as Robotnik at all in this film. I just see him as Jim Carrey, and honestly, if we got a proper Robotnik portrayal, more accurate to the games, it would be to the film's detriment because he made the film, honestly. Without him, this film would have just been a bit meh. But he was hilarious. He was on form. He was just like Ace Ventura. He was just like he was in all his 90s films. Just, he had one thing that he said in it. I won't spoil it, but kind of like in Bruce Almighty where he keeps on saying B-E-A, beautiful. There was one thing in this film that he says that's on that sort of level, and he only says it once, but I bet he would have said it a lot of times if he was the lead of the film as this character. But it's just, he's full of stuff like that. The jokes are just fantastic with him as well. And Sonic has a lot of good jokes as well. Not all of them are laughs, but I was laughing a lot through this film. So really, before I get into spoilers, I'm just going to sum up. This film was very good. If you like Sonic, if you like Jim Carrey, you will like this film. If you don't know Sonic at all, you're not a fan of Sonic, and you hate Jim Carrey, you can't stand him, you find him annoying, don't see this film. There's not really anything in it for you. But again, I'm looking at it for the film that it is, not for what I wanted it to be. It's not what I wanted it to be, but for what it is, it's good. It's worth seeing. I will happily see this again. So I'm going to go into spoilers now. They're not all going to be plot spoilers, like the end. I'm going to mention a few things that happen sort of in the middle of the film that people might want to discover themselves. So one is a few references. So when like Sonic wants to get to the mushroom world, he mentions, yes, I hate mushrooms, which probably a little nod to Mario. And also when he drops the rings at one point, he goes, oh no. And I don't know if that's a reference to Knuckles in Sonic Adventure, because that became a meme, him saying that. And speaking of memes, when Crazy Carl is one of the townspeople who sees Sonic like before the film's set, he draws a picture of what Sonic looks like, and it's the Sonic meme. For the things, again, they're not plot spoilers, the three things I mentioned, but they're little Easter eggs that you might want to discover yourself, which is why I had to put a spoiler warning before those. And so anyway, another little thing in it is if you've seen the X-Men films with Quicksilver, where like you see Quicksilver moving really fast and everyone else is at freeze frame, there's a few moments in that where Sonic does it. One in a bar fight where they actually have a song playing and he's going around like moving people slightly and all that, and then he goes back to his starting position, then it just basically hits play and everyone falls about, and it's done well. It's not original, but it's done well. But I was sitting there thinking, this is X-Men, and you've got Cyclops in this film as well. So on to the end battle. I say end battle because even though the very beginning of the film is the end battle, like it shows Sonic running from Robotnik, and it's nice to see this film actually show him instantly, not build up to seeing the CGI character. Like instantly you see him, you see Robotnik chasing him in his big mech, and Sonic calls him Eggman in it as well as a nickname, but not because he's shaped like an egg or anything, but because his drones that he's using are egg-shaped. That's pretty much it. And he does this cool chase sequence where he's going through like Great Wall of China, Paris, and all these landmarks, which action films like to have landmarks in them, usually so you can see them get destroyed. But it makes sense in this because Sonic has to imagine the place he wants to warp to, but it makes sense that he wouldn't go to just anywhere. He would go to landmarks because he would picture landmarks. Anyone would. If you could travel anywhere you can imagine, you would go to the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids and things like that. So that was well done. And he ends up in Green Hills again, that town with all the local people, and Crazy Carl, who I mentioned just now, he's there going with a chainsaw, going to Robotnik. You know, I'm going to help defend Sonic, even though Sonic's like dead at this point. I can't remember how he ended up like that. And then Cyclops is like trying to stop Robotnik, and they're all like, he's our friend, you know, we like it. And Sonic, you know, he wants his goal, his bucket list that he does, he wants to make a real friend. And Sonic's powers, like he can run fast all the time, that's just something he can do, but his actual powers of like becoming strong, being able to destroy machines and all that, that comes from his emotions. Kind of like he hulks up, and when he feels an emotion, then he can do his damage. And he does that, and he says, this is my power and all that, I'm going to defend my friends. Yeah, that, like, it's in the trailer, that line. Kind of weird, that line from the very end of the film's in the trailer, but then he knocks Robotnik into the mushroom world, and Robotnik's stranded there. Everyone's celebrating Sonic, and I sort of mentioned how Cyclops is very quick to accept Sonic. Some of these townspeople, they don't know anything about this Sonic other than Crazy Cole wanted to catch him before. Why are they wanting to defend him? I don't get. And finally, the government turn up at their house and say, we want to thank you for all your help. And I'm like, what help? All they did was defend Sonic, the thing that the government was after in the first place. They ordered Robotnik to go and sort out whatever had caused this power surge, which was Sonic. All Robotnik did in this film was what the government told him to do, what he was paid to do. He didn't do a very good job, no. He tried to, he failed. He tried to destroy anything in his path as well. Maybe it was the collateral damage he did. But Robotnik just, all he was doing was what the government told him to. So why have the government turned his back on Robotnik? That made no sense to me. But again, I'd rather have Sonic just be accepted than have to deal with this whole, you know, oh, we got to hide him, they're not going to understand that he's a good guy and all that. And then Sonic ends up living with the humans, like in their attic. I would have much rather it ended with him going back to his home planet. So I wasn't really happy with how that film was ending, until we saw 2 extra scenes. One showed Robotnik on that mushroom planet. He had shaved his head and he had a big bushy moustache and he's trying to find his way back. So he looks like Robotnik now. Why couldn't have looked like that throughout the whole film? I don't know, but they've built up to it, I suppose. And the other one, during the credits, there's a little extra scene. Another portal opens, out steps Tails, and he's got a tracker. He's going off to look for Sonic, it seems, and set up for the sequel. That's what it looks like. I'm looking forward to a sequel if it gets made, but the film's doing well from what I can tell, so hopefully there will be a sequel. I think Jim Carrey has said he's up for doing it. Basically, I have a vision for this sequel. I'm going to talk about it in another video. But overall, I really like this film. I'd happily see it again. I think it's worth watching if you're a Sonic fan. If you're not a Sonic fan, not a Jim Carrey fan, it's not worth watching. But obviously, Jim Carrey's back to his best, honestly. He is so entertaining in this film. I don't really want to spoil a lot of what he says and does in it. But definitely worth checking out. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the film, what you might want to see in a sequel in it. Make sure you give us a like if you like this video, and make sure you subscribe. Don't miss me talking about a potential sequel. I know what I want from it. It's pretty much what I wanted from this film, but hopefully we'll get it in the next one. There is potential here. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. Bye bye everyone.